ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नित्यानन्दनमस्तुभ्यं प्रेमानन्दप्रदायिने अलोकल्मषनाशाय जानवापतये नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्यनामिने गौरतुसे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So we were discussing from Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 and verse number 58. यदा समरते चायं कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यस्तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता. One who is able to one who is able to withdraw his senses from sense objects as the tortoise draws its limbs within the cell is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So we were discussing this in the light of this Bhagavatam verse where Lord Krishna in the form of Hansa incarnation, he was explaining how a person can become free from the engagement of sense gratification. So it's a very deep philosophy. But if somebody can understand this, then it becomes very simple, or it becomes very easy to give up the desires for sense enjoyment, even though it is practically it is an impossible task. And why it is very difficult or impossible? Because Gunesu Chavisha Chittam, this material mind is always absorbed in sense objects, and sense objects are also within the mind. So it's not possible. But one who can understand this philosophy, this the most wonderful and important philosophy, that we are completely aloof from this material mind and its objects of sense gratification, material objects of sense gratification. So one who understands transcendental nature of the Lord, then he can give up both material mind and its object. So what is that process by which one can give up or develop transcendental attachment for the Lord? So let's proceed ahead. Lord Krishna is explaining this process in detail. जाग्रतस्वप्नः सुसुप्तं च गुणतो बुद्धि वृत्तयो तासां विलक्षणो जीवा साक्षित्वेन विनिश्चितः. Waking, sleeping, and deep sleep are the three functions of the intelligence and are caused by the modes of material nature. The living entity within the body is ascertained to possess characteristics different from these three states and thus remains as a witness to them. So, in the form of Hans Avatar is trying to, of course, the philosophy is complete and perfect. That's why I'm using the word trying, because it's not very easy to understand this philosophy. The philosophy that we are completely different from any states of our existence within this material world. Uh, so within this material existence, we have these three phases of three states of existence we live. First is waking, just like right now we are talking. So it's this is called Jagrita Dasa. Jagrat Dasa, a state of being awake. Then second is Sopana, a state of dreaming, when one lies down and he is in dreaming condition, or even in when he is not actually sleeping, but one may be dreaming. Sopana and Susuptam, that is deep sleep, one who has gone deep and forgotten his this material existence for the time being. When one goes into deep sleep, at that time he forgets his present situation. So all these three states are the functions of intelligence and are the functions, these are caused by the modes of material nature. Mode of goodness causes Jagrit Dasa, wakeful state, and mode of passion uh, causes the Sopna, sleeping, and mode of ignorance causes deep sleep, Sushuptam. But the living entity within the body is certain to possess characteristics different from these three states. But ourselves, we have certain characteristics by which we are separate from all these three states. And what is that characteristics? That we remain as a witness to them, witness to these three states. The very fact that we can realize that I am awake right now. The very fact that when we go to sleep and we had dreams, so this proves that I witnessed the sleeping condition. And when I was deep sleep, so that state also I can remember that I went deep sleep. So that is also I can witness. So if I am able to witness these three states of existence, if I am able to witness, that means I'm separate from this. I have nothing to do with this. Uh, just like when we ride in a vehicle. Suppose first I take an auto rickshaw, then I get down, and then I take a bus. Then again I get down from bus. Then I take a train. Then again I get down. So in all these three states, I'm able to observe that for some time I was in auto, for some time I was in a bus, and for some time I was in a train. So this observation was there because I'm different from this state of auto and bus and train. This is very simple to understand, but it requires a little philosophical analysis. It's very simple. Why it's simple? Because if I'm able to observe the difference between when I was in auto and I was in a bus, that means I'm never uh, I'm never the auto or the bus. And I'm never always in the auto or the bus. That's why I'm able to appreciate or see the difference. So this observation of the difference between different states proves that I don't belong to any of these states. I'm aloof from these states. So the spirit soul actually has nothing to do with the material world. Now, listen carefully. This purport is very important. So the spirit soul actually has nothing to do with the material world, having no permanent or natural relationship with it. Real renunciation means to give up the illusory identification with matter in its subtle and gross forms. Susuptam or deep sleep indicates sleeping without any dreams or conscious activity. These three states are described by Lord Krishna as follows. Sattva jagaranam vidyat rajasa swapnamadise prasvapam tamasa jantos turiyam trishu santatam. This is explained in another verse in Bhagavatam, Lord Krishna explains this philosophy. 11.25.20, Lord Krishna says, one should know that wakefulness is born of the mode of goodness, and dreams from the mode of passion, and deep dreamless sleep from the mode of ignorance. But the fourth element, pure consciousness, is different from these three and pervades them. Uh, so this is fourth, Turiyam, known as Turiyam. Turiyam, Trishu Santatam. This fourth stage, Turiyam, which actually belongs to the living entity, that is consciousness or the living entity itself. So this fourth stage is there all the time, whether one is in wakefulness or this dreaming condition or deep sleep, because in all the three phases, one is conscious, one is able to see the difference. That's why it is different from these three and pervades them. Real freedom means sakchitvena, or to exist as a witness to the function of illusion. So this is the real freedom. One who can situate oneself in the sakshitvena. Sakshitvena means to uh, to understand oneself to be an observer or a witness. Generally, what happens when we are in either of these three states, wakefulness or dreaming condition or in deep sleep, so we identify ourselves with that particular state and we think ourselves to be that. Just like right now, we are awake. So we think that we are awake. So whatever is happening with us, around us, whatever I'm doing, this is me actually doing. But actually, it's not so. Because of the mode of goodness, I am in a wakefulness state, and certain activities are being carried out by my hands, legs, and body. But so this is I am observing. So Sakshitvena means to exist as a witness. So one who can learn to exist as a witness uh, to the functions of illusion. So these functions of mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance, satoguna, rajoguna, tamoguna. These are functions of illusion. Why? Because these three modes of material nature are carried out by material energy, Maya. And Maya means illusion. Maya means that which does not actually exist. So that is why it is called as illusion. So whatever activity we perform through our body, mind, and intelligence, whether we are awake right now, just like we are awake. So whether we are awake, whatever function we perform, whatever activity we perform either through gross or subtle body, or whatever function we have performed in our dreaming condition of life, when we are dreaming, mode of passion, and whatever is performed in deep sleep, that is forgetfulness of this gross and subtle thing. So these are all the functions of illusion, and but I am an witness to. I am observing such. Means I'm observing such activities in different states of my living. Uh, with such an advantageous position achieved by development of Krishna consciousness. So one can come to this state by developing Krishna consciousness. So this Lord Krishna is explaining this philosophy in detail. Uh, our original Krishna consciousness exists. It should be understood that alert wakefulness comes from the mode of goodness, sleep with dreaming from the mode of passion, and deep dreamless sleep from the mode of ignorance. The fourth state of consciousness pervades these three and this transcendental, and that is our real identity. Our real identity is not uh, what which what we observe when we are awake in mode of goodness. That is not. Our real identity is not that which we observe while sleeping when we are dreaming. And our real identity is not certainly when we are deep sleep, dreamless sleep, complete in ignorance. But our real identity is the fourth state of consciousness, which pervades these three states. Uh, but it is transcendental. Our original Krishna consciousness exists eternally within the soul, and it is also present in all the three phases of awareness, namely normal wakefulness, dreaming, and dreamless sleep, being covered by the modes of nature. This spiritual consciousness may not be manifest, but it continues to exist eternally as the real nature of the living entity. Next. यर्हि संसृतिबन्धोऽयम् आत्मनो गुणवृत्तिदः मयि तुर्ये स्थितो जह्यात् त्यागस्तद्गुणचेतसाम्. Next, Lord Hamsa explains, the spirit soul is trapped in the bondage of material intelligence, which avoids him constant engagement in the illusory modes of nature. But I am the fourth stage of consciousness beyond wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep. Becoming situated in me, the soul should give up the bondage of material consciousness. At that time, the living entity will automatically renounce the material sense objects and the material mind. So, this is the process how, after understanding that I am aloof from material mind and material sense objects, the process how one can give up, how one can, and one can, the living entity will automatically renounce. Lord Krishna is saying it will not be a difficult task. It's just a matter of this realization. So then living entity will automatically renounce the material sense objects and material mind. Just like, for example, when we are sleeping, so when if just for the sake of discussion, we accept this wakefulness is state to be our original state, which of course we accept. We think, uh, we think that this is our real identity. When we are awake, this is our real identity. So in that context, we try to discuss this philosophy. So when we go to sleep and when we are dreaming, so at that time when we are dreaming, so we forget our real identity when we are awake. That I am such and such person. Uh, so we identify ourselves with what we are in the dream. But uh, as soon as we are awake, immediately we give up those misidentification of the dream. So it automatically happens. You don't have to renounce. But as long as when we are sleeping, as long as we are sleeping and we are dreaming in the sleep, so in the sleep it will be difficult to give up those identifications. Suppose when somebody is sleeping and having the dream that I am being harassed by some very ferocious animal, or I am a beggar, I am a great king, I am this, that, so many things one may dream about. So in the dream, it will be impossible to give up those identification, and thus, because he cannot give up those identification, which is misidentification, because he cannot give up, so he has to suffer the consequences of being that particular misidentification. Suppose if I in the dream I am a beggar, so as long as I am not awake, as long as I am lying down and I'm in the dream, so being a beggar, the suffering which I'm experiencing, though that I don't have anything, I am hungry, I have nothing, I'm so poor, I'm so poor. So this kind of suffering will continue to exist as long as my dream is not broken. But as soon as a person calls me out and immediately my eyes are opened, so I understand, oh, I'm not the beggar, I'm Anantur Gordas lying here. So immediately, automatically, and immediately, that misidentification is gone, and I immediately give up the false identification and all the miserable or so-called miserable and so-called this happy condition of life, which is connected with that false misidentification, is immediately vanished, finished. Huh? As soon as one is awake. Similarly, these three states means states of existence in material world, whether awake or whether one is sleeping, having dreaming condition, or whether one is into deep sleep. So all these three states are actually illusory states of existence carried out by modes of material nature. So this is illusion. So as soon as the soul which is in fourth dimension, Turiya. Uh, Turiya means transcendental. The soul, soul's means yeah, the soul's knowledge. As soon as this knowledge is realized, or one is awakened to his real spiritual position, uh, so immediately his dreaming condition in this material existence is broken, and no more he identifies himself either of these three states, whether awake state or in sleeping or a deep sleep state. That means he gives up. He can automatically and immediately give up the false identification with this material body. So immediately he'll give up material sense objects as well as material mind. Just like when I am dreaming, in the dream, I am a beggar having a bowl in my hand and begging, please give me some arm, please give me something. So, in order to become free from the miserable situation of that begging condition of life, I do not have to earn lot of money while living in the dreaming condition. That's not possible because I am beggar in that dreaming condition of life. You know. So, but I have to give up this false identification, being a beggar, as well as and then immediately those situations, those harassment which I am getting, miserable situation which I am getting, being a beggar, is also finished. Similarly, as soon as one is awakened to his real consciousness, which is Krishna consciousness, which is fourth state of existence, that is transcendental state of existence, and which is original pure Krishna consciousness state of existence. So immediately one gives up identification with this material mind as well as the material sense objects. So there is no question of engaging the material mind in the activities of sense gratification with the help of sense objects. So there is no question of any miseries. Uh, then immediately he is situated into a consciousness. So this is the way. Lord Krishna now specifically answers the questions that sages originally placed before Lord Brahma. Ultimately, the spirit soul has nothing to do with the material sense objects and modes of nature. This we should always remember. The spirit soul has nothing to do with the material sense objects and modes of nature. But because of one's false identification with the material body, the modes of nature are empowered to engage one in illusory kind of occupations. Because of false identification only. The modes of material nature uh, forcefully engage one in illusory occupation, that is, activities of sense gratification. But if there is no false identification, this material modes of nature cannot force a living entity to engage in the activities of sense gratification. Just like if I understand I am an eternal servant of Krishna, uh, how can my mind force me to engage in sense gratification? This is what I know, I have decided. So how can it force? That's why I ask sometimes devotees, they say I am unable to chant Hare Krishna because I am very much disturbed. No, you are not disturbed, your mind is disturbed. But if you do not identify yourself with the mind, how can your mind stop from chanting Hare Krishna? Even if mind is utterly disturbed, can the mind come and uh, uh, take your tongue, catch your tongue and stop you chanting? No, that's not possible until unless you decide or until unless you do not give up the identification with the mind. But as soon as you situate yourself in in your real identification, uh, then immediately this uh, this modes of material nature which acts through mind cannot force the living entity to engage in illusory occupations. But because of one's false identification with the material body, the modes of nature are empowered to engage one in illusory occupation. That's why, by destroying this false identification with matter, the soul gives up the illusory occupations avoided by the modes of nature. The solution is very simple. Simply by destroying this false identification with the matter, a matter means gross matter as well as subtle matter, mind. The soul can very easily give up the illusory occupations avoided by modes of nature. It is clearly stated in these words that the living entity is not empowered to independently free himself from illusion, but must situate himself in Krishna consciousness, in full awareness of the Supreme Lord. So independently, a living entity cannot do so, but if one situates himself in fourth is real state of existence, that is Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness means that identifying oneself with the Supreme Lord Krishna, that is a transcendental state of existence, and that is our real original state of existence, then immediately one is freed from false identification. And no matter whatever may come and go in his life, the disturbances cannot disturb him. That's why many times I say, even if the mind is disturbed, don't let your disturbed mind to disturb you. What does that mean? This is the meaning is the same. So mind may be disturbed, but you understand very clearly that you are different from the mind. You are not mind. Your state of existence is in Krishna consciousness. So then how can disturbed mind disturb? Just like in the dream, if I'm saying a lion is running before me, a lion is running after me to attack on me, so I do not have the power to counter attack the lion and to stop myself being attacked by the lion. But uh, what I can do, I can free myself with the false misidentification of being the person in the dream who is being attacked by the lion. So as soon as I just wake up, so immediately the lion is finished and the false identification is finished. So no more attack of the lion. So the lion may be attacking in the dream, uh, but that cannot disturb me. Similarly, so it's not so easy thing, but just we are discussing. At least we should know the philosophy. It will take time to come to this level of understanding, and that is what is the this process of practice of Krishna consciousness is. The more one seriously chants the holy name of Krishna, because the process is one must situate himself in Krishna consciousness. One can become free from this miserable situation of the dream only when one is awake. So in order to become free from the miseries of the dream, you do not require to adjust situation in the dream, but you require to just become awake. Similarly, in order to become free from the disturbing situations of this material existence, we do not require to actually adjust the situations within our surrounding, but we simply require to situate ourselves in a complete wakefulness state, that is Krishna consciousness. So that is our process. We must situate ourselves in Krishna consciousness in full awareness of the Supreme Lord that I am eternal part and parcel of Krishna. So then it is finished. Okay, time is over. But we'll discuss more about this. Ahankari kritam bandham atmanuartha viparjayam vidvan nirvidya samsara chindam turvyastitastaje. The false ego of the living entity places him in the bondage and awards him exactly the opposite of what he really desires. Therefore, an intelligent person should give up his constant anxiety to enjoy material life and remain situated in the Lord, who is beyond the functions of material consciousness. We will discuss about this tomorrow. Thank you very much. I hope you were able to understand even a little bit of this. That will help. Hare Krishna.